Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm Evelyn Kilal, one of the co-founders of SheHacks, and it's been in operation for the past 5 years. And today marks a celebration for us in terms of we've been working to improve or empower women in this industry and create a place where they can comfortably push their skill and learn more about it also. So Kendi, I have really stalked you on LinkedIn. Maybe that's allowed, I believe. Yes. So yeah, I really like your profile in terms of you have a good ground of knowledge in this technical side, having been in Oracle and Checkpoint, which really stood out for me. And lastly, you were one of the founders of She Goes Tech, which is a community like SheHacks, I believe, that would empower women into this industry. I think you can introduce yourself better than I have, but yes, thank you. It's an honor to have you today. And yeah, we look forward to learning more from you.
Thank you, Evelyn. We still have, what, about 20 minutes for me to speak?
25.
25, okay. Is that the Selantoy? No. Is that Selantoy, Janet? Is that you?
Yes, it's me, Candy.
Awesome, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So I remember May 2017. You see, it's been years, like it was yesterday, and it was a Saturday morning. I had been invited to mentor some students like yourselves, but who are in leadership. They just graduated, and it's something I used to do on Saturdays. So I remember walking into this space. We were doing the life map, and it was exciting. I like to be among young people because of the high energy. So while at it, it's a Saturday, the calls I expected from my family, while at it, I get the first call. And on getting the first call, I answer it, and there's someone panicking on the other side. And they ask me, are we safe? Are we safe? And I'm like, what do you mean, are we safe? Then I go back to work, and I get the second call. This time, it is an escalation, and I was being called from Central Bank. And again, they ask, are we safe, Kendi? Are we safe? Is Checkpoint on top of this? And again, I'm like, what do you mean, are we safe? You're all in cybersecurity. So you remember in May 2017, that was the time for the WannaCry ransomware. Do you recall? Which terrorized like the whole world. And at that point, I had just joined Checkpoint. I was 2 weeks into the job. I was a regional leader, but then I'm the person they were calling. And I thought to myself, I came into the cybersecurity world knowing it is critical, but I didn't know it was that critical. So I go about, I'm trying to focus, I'm trying to do the mentorship and the guidance. And as I go about it, the third call comes. This time, it's from Madam Sheila, the Deputy Governor at Central Bank. And she tells me, Kendi, we are relying on you. This is Central Bank. We cannot be cheat. Are we okay or are we not okay? At that moment, I shut down and I told them, you are a priority. I'm coming in. So on a Saturday, I found myself driving into Central Bank, no security. I go in straight into the management floor, straight into deliberation offices. And that day, I realized that cybersecurity was now the real conversation, that the conversation was coming away from the technical room to the business. And the people who are going to bother themselves with that conversation were not just the techies. It is going to be the leaders themselves, the people that we respect, right? And so whenever I started with that story, it's because I want you to understand that the space you're in is like no other, that you're most relevant, that you're needed today, and the more we go, the more you become needed. That the choice you made to be in cybersecurity is a right choice. So if you wake up anytime and wonder to yourself, am I still in the most relevant field? Am I not? Remember this, businesses, leaders want you to be in it. If I could recall the same time, because then the reason I go back to those 4 years, as much as there have been other attacks in between, it's because it's the time just like COVID has taught us, whether you are in the East or you are in the West or you are in Africa, the global South, whatever they like to call us, we were the same. And we all were waiting to see, is that screen of make payment here coming? And everyone almost, I remember my many customers here wanting to shut down because I'm like, no. Disable everything, shut down. We are better off than on than be attacked. But is that what to do? Is that really the one? Is that really what you're supposed to do if you're in a business? And that's your role, so that you ensure that there's business continuity. You remember that, like as it's been said on the board when we would do finance, I'm sure, I hope, and if you haven't, you better do some applications, some business applications, some business certification to understand the business world, and I'll explain to you later. So when you do anything in business, whether you are doing it in high school, whether you did it as a first unit in uni, whether you did it as a part-time or reading, and you look at anything in accounting, and they say the reason finance is most important is because it ensures an organization to be a viable going concern, right? And so how is it a viable going concern if there's a threat of being attacked? And that is where you come in as cybersecurity. When you look at the landscape, when you see, and we say we're looking at how wide can we play, how wide can we cast that net? And the thing is, as wide as you want. The same period, like I was saying with the WannaCry, when organizations were hit around the world, the people who stood to defend and say that they were fine, it was not the IT person, it was not the InfoSec person, it was actually the board, either the board chair or the CEO accompanied by their board. That means what you do is critical. What you do is primary and it is important, right? So remember that. For nothing else, continue remembering that. Now when we look at where we are and what we are seeing for the future. The more we encourage digitization, the more we encourage for people to go digital, the more we tell governments we want to go online, we want to access services online, the more then cybersecurity becomes a concern that must be addressed. If we look at, when we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, then, and we say that things, when we operationalize technology, which is now operational technology, OT rather, when we look at a machine, say like a production process, and we say, let's use bots, let's use robotics to have the production done. And when we see it in that sense, then what happens if that process was attacked? We saw just the other day the Colonial pipeline crisis in the US, where the pipeline that distributes gas in a good part of the US was attacked. This is in May this year, actually. And for about 8 days, it was down. There was no gas in the Boston or so area of the US. And so when it was attacked in that sense, and I'm not sure if it was Boston, but it's around, some parts of the East Coast and some part of the US. And when we saw when the system went down and then there was no supply of fuel and people were panicking, there was the people going to buy they're trying to save themselves, like how when we hear there's a shortage and then it's all full. Again, why? Because of a cyber threat. And that's one of the bigger attacks that has been there recently. Again, if we look at the US, I believe it's the San Francisco metro system where it was free. So there was an attack and people were having free rides for such a long time. Then you ask, what's your relevance in the space of technology? So the more we automate, the more we digitize, the more there is need for cybersecurity, the more there is need for your skill, the more you become relevant in this world. If you look at Internet of Things, again, right now I saw one of the producers, I think it's Samsung, who's come up with a smart TV, with a smart fridge, where if you hit it, it becomes almost like a clear glass, as in you can see everything, the contents in the fridge. That combined with all the talking devices and all the Wi-Fi connections and all of this, the commands you're able to give. Right now, I'm able to monitor my home from anywhere. Why? Because there is connection into my home. That means if I'm hacked, someone can actually see what's going on in my own living space. They can see how they can actually either attack me or work with me, or how they can get into my own privacy. They can also get into the space for my children, for example. So if that is where we're going to, and if all of this is on your gadget, on as simple, as small as your phone, and you carry it all the time, what does that mean? And so I'm challenging you, even as you get into this space, as you think of going broader, as we look at it from an Africa perspective, Kenya perspective, broadening to Africa, what I'm challenging you is go to the leadership. Don't confine yourselves to the technical room. Cybersecurity became just, we earned, and I say we because I've been in that space, we earned the right to be in the boardroom those many years ago, where the one business can be threatened just simply like this, where you can shut down pipelines like this, where grids can be shut down, where if it's the processing plant can be shut down, where temperatures can be tampered with, meaning it can be you can declare losses overnight, where cars, if it's automobiles, those can be controlled remotely, because that interruption is so central to the existence of everyone, of everything, of organizations. Then that is why you must be in the rooms that have these discussions, so that I encourage you to step out, feel confident, you can speak business, which then brings me to the part where I was talking about business. So as you even do your technical lingo, what I want to invite you to do is understand the traditional speak of business. And the traditional speak of business is really balance sheet, it's the numbers. Because when you understand the numbers and you go to cybersecurity, because one of the challenges in the cybersecurity space you find is that budgets are not applied as much, and yet the penalties are even higher. But because businesses don't look at it that way, then you find there being a challenge with you getting budgets, or with you being allowed to innovate, with you being allowed to think and to step out. But then what if you could speak the business language? Who's responsible for the budgets? It's the CEO, it's the CFO, sometimes the COO. The COO needs to keep their risks down. So if cybersecurity is not a risk that the COO is looking at and thinking, I need to manage this risk, then are you having the right conversation? And for you to speak with the Chief Operation Officer in that sense, in terms of risk, do you then understand how a business runs? For you to speak with the Chief Executive Officer in terms of how you can help their top line. The top line is in terms of managing the risks in between, so that when the top line is assured, then the bottom line, which is the profits, are then improved the best way possible. If you cannot have that conversation with them, how then do you defend your cause as a cybersec professional? So that is why I challenge you, go beyond what you're doing, go beyond the technical bit. Also think of it, I long to see InfoSec people as CEOs for organizations. And you will not be a CEO of an organization if you cannot read the balance sheet. But yet, because you have that mind of looking at it from a risk, from the bit of what harm can someone do? What is the wrong person thinking about? What is the right person thinking about? What if this process that I'm developing, this product that I'm developing, what if it got to the worst hands? What would that mean? Because you have a way of working that always thinks about the worst case. Imagine bringing that skill to the business side. And so that's why I don't want you to limit yourself. I want to invite you, and I say this again, I want to invite you and think broaden, so that you're bringing the cybersec skill beyond. And I'm not saying you have to report to the CEO, you can be the CEO yourself and the CEO of the big organizations, because like we said, we always think from the worst case perspective. And when you're thinking from the worst case perspective, then you have the salesperson to give you the best perspective. So then when you meet together, that means it's a win for the organization in that sense. So think of yourself in that way. Think of yourself as a person who adds value. Think of yourself as, the more there is technology being realized, the more there is need for your kind of skill. The more there is innovation, the more there is people must innovate with security as a central point of thinking about it. And so even the more we encourage AI, and we talk about AI a lot, also think about how can we solve the cyber gaps using artificial intelligence. Who's going to feed it if it's not you? Who's going to feed that logic? Who's listening to this? Who's having this conversation at this time? So please broaden, broaden, broaden. Right? Are there any questions, any comments so far? I know I've done about 20 minutes or thereabouts. And so I want to give you 5 minutes for us to ask questions and interact. You can type, you can speak, anything. Let me not be the only one speaking. Anyone? Can we pick on somebody?
Yes, we can. Okay, maybe I take one. Thanks for that, and I think it matches up with the topic that we have. So I could ask a question like, what do you think we can improve on? And what would be the key focus to better the Africa kind of landscape of cybersecurity right now? Is there anything we can improve on, or are we doing well at where we are right now?
So one thing you're doing right for sure, like having this forum, and you're having this forum to just challenge yourself to engage and be involved in the space. So continue to do that and pull as many people as possible. What can we do to improve? Like I said, the conversation, sometimes the tech conversations are reserved for the technical people. Don't allow yourself to be boxed to the technical conversation. And the way to do that is to make yourself confident by enabling yourself to be multi-skilled, so that you're taking the conversation beyond the technical room to the business room. When you see people, the business people seated and having that conversation, don't shun away. Go for it. Actually, start those conversations. So don't just stay in the rooms. And I know we do that. Don't just stay in the rooms where it's just the techies that are there. I want you to go to the rooms where the business people are, because from there they will learn a lot from you, but you will also learn a lot from them. I say this knowing I have a technical background, but also knowing that I've dedicated most of my career in the business side of technology. There is so much richness that can be shared across both platforms. So what would I invite us to do differently? Evelyn, it's that. Let's go beyond the technical room. Let's go beyond the technical speak. Let's invite ourselves to the rooms where we're not invited. And those rooms are the boardroom. If you're not in the boardroom, you're not making that decision. And yet you need to be in the boardroom for cybersecurity to be taken seriously. I see there's a question on chat.
Yes.
You have mentioned that we can move to leadership in cybersecurity. How exactly can one get started if you are a technical person?
Yes.
First, you need to want to start working with people. I know one of the things that technical people, Zach, if we could please mute. I think that is okay. One of the things that the technical people love to say is that, oh, working with machines is much easier than working with people. I know it is, but you know what? For business or for leadership is about people. So first, and let me also answer this way, Nancy. You can only remain as a techie for so long. For you to grow up the ladder, you need to learn how to lead and to get into management. So understand the skill, know your trade, but then also you need to be okay. And I know it's enjoyable because I used to love coding. So I know it's enjoyable and it takes a lot to get out of it, right? But you have to allow people to actually do it and then elevate yourself to a place where you actually manage the people who are now doing the hard work. And as you do that, you learn leadership and you get into leadership. Leadership starts with, how can you start practically? So right now, if you're the hands-on person, you're the technical person, be very good at it. Then move to managing people who are now the hands-on people, because in managing, then you learn how to lead, but you're learning to lead people who have your skill. Then after that, like I said, push yourself to rooms where people are not speaking your language. Because now when you get to management, you have a place of synergy and the place of, people are people. Whether it is a programmer, whether it is a coder, whether it is a HR person who's being managed, whether it is a salesperson being managed, whether it's a marketing person, PR person, an operations person. When you are now in management, you have a common language of speak. There is a differentiation, yes, because the skill is different than people you're managing. But then there's a common aspect, which is we are all managing people, and we all need to motivate the people to motivate them to do the best of what they're doing, right? So move to that, managing people of your skill. And when you're at it, interact with people who are beyond your skill, right? And as you do that, then as you continue to study, and I know you have to, with the technical fields, you have to keep studying, you have to keep yourself updated, expand what you're studying. Look at strategy, look at finance, finance for non-finance people. Look at whatever else you want, governance, because also risk and governance go together. So equip yourself all around. Then you'll realize with time, you have an advantage, because not only do you have deep technical knowledge on one hand, you also understand how to work with people, and you also somehow understand operations. Then now you start to understand the business side of it. So why won't you lead if that's the case? Or the operations side of it. So why won't you lead? So we find that IT in some organizations report to the chief operations officer. Why can't you be the chief operations officer? What does it take? You can be that, and then you have technical people reporting, as in, so you have different people reporting to you, but you're the COO, right? And I hope that has answered you, Nancy. Yes, Maura, I see your hand is up.
Okay, sorry, hi. Thank you so much for saying that, because you are obviously someone who has scaled this ladder and gotten to that position, which is a struggle for a lot of women in cybersecurity, me included, let me just say that. So how do we handle biases? Because I have experienced biases from both women and men in the corporate space. In fact, I was in a sitting where a guy actually said to me, I think that was in 2019, that most women in cybersecurity have gotten to where they are by giving favors. He actually said that to my face. And I was very upset, because I know I'm a very hardworking person and it has taken me a lot to get to this place. So how do we handle situational biases? How do we handle biases that are directed to us because we are women, and because people still tend, I mean, we're in Africa, some people still tend to think that women cannot handle such technical, technical spaces. And I, for one, get upset. I'm that kind of person who will tell you off. So sometimes my emotional intelligence is zero. I can say that for a fact, because I'm like, that is just a direct insult to me. Why would you think that you guys are smarter than the chicks here? I mean, really. So how do we handle that to the extent that we can actually scale this ladder without being stepped on, but at the same time being intentional and having some EQ as to how we can go about it? I think that's a challenge for women, especially because our challenges are not the same. Once women become mothers and become wives, things totally change for them as compared to men. So it looks like we are competing in an unfair, we are competing unfairly. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, Maura. So first, let me declare I am a wife and I am a mother. Yes, and it takes extra effort to remain focused in corporate, especially when the roles get expanded from that aspect. And because we're in Africa, there's societal expectation of what a woman should do. That said, when it comes to biases, this is what I have come to realize. The biases people have has nothing to do with me. It's actually a reflection of the person that has the bias. And so when you come and you say in general that people, it's like coming and saying women in leadership get there because they've done favors. Who did I even lack words. Did you do me the favor? Did I come and ask for the favor? What was that? It's a reflection of who you are, not who I am. So anytime people say things that can be painful, I have to remind myself, Candy, breathe in, breathe out, be composed. It has nothing to do with you, but them. So when you remember that, then you're also able to actually contain yourself. We are accused of being emotional. I say I'm a different kind of woman. I am a very logical mind. And I will tell you, the reason you're here, which is a STEM woman, is because you are a logical mind. You do things because things make sense. There is one thing Dr. Kate Kitao loves to say. She says the problem when you have women who are competent in leadership, the reason you hate us is because for us to lead, we lead with things that make sense. So when you come to me and you tell me to do something that does not make sense, I will not do it, then I become the enemy. So the reason you're here as the ladies and the people and the men, I think we are combined in this space, it's because you have a brilliant mind. You have a logical mind. You had to first, how many quantitative techniques and the mother of them have you had to do? You know, so many for you to actually now really get into cybersecurity, right? So you have to do the logical side of it for you to get to where you are. And because that is the thing, then even for the reactions, use the same logic. Just breathe in, breathe out. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to them. It shouldn't. Don't let it affect you. And because we are accused of being emotional, they're waiting for that outburst. Don't fit to it. Don't fit to it. Try always to breathe in, breathe out. Sometimes, yes, it will be like, you know what, you're too much. And there you're allowed. You're like, you know what, just get off my way. You're too much. Don't even think about crossing my path again. And that's fine. But for the others, just keep going. You ask, how do you handle the biases? It's that. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the person who's showing them. And the fight for it, and unfortunately or fortunately, we are born in Africa, which in itself is rich. And I'll say why it's a blessing. The reason I can be a mother and still work, it's because we are in Africa and I have a support system around me. I'm having this conversation with you at 7:30. My children go to bed at 7:30. You might see them, by the way, coming one by one to tell me good night, because usually they do that. And it's normal because I have a system where they've been showered, they've had dinner, they came, I checked their homework. But how can I afford that? We are able to afford that because we're in Africa. So we celebrate that. And so it means we have a full system around us that allows us to be many faces of women, right? In that sense. And in the same way, our environment expects us to be the traditional woman who is able to do X, Y, Z. We can't fight that in a day. We were raised like that. The people behind us were raised like that. Our children are trying to fight it. So I can't get annoyed now. What do? I make it work for my advantage. Like I'll give you an example. When I walk into a room and I see maybe people are apprehensive, maybe there's tensions going up, you know what I do? I appeal to my feminine side. And I come in, or even when I'm walking in and I'm having a difficult customer, difficult colleague, I just ask them, because we are human, I'm like, oh, how is your son? How is your daughter? And because I'm a woman, and because I have asked that question, because society has told them I'm soft and I'm a woman and I should care about the family, you know what? That person comes down and they answer me back. So by the time they answer me back, their defenses are low. Then after that, I assume my leadership position. Does that make sense? So you can make being a woman actually work for you. Because you can use it to your advantage. I stop fighting from the feminine me. I use it. If you come to a room and you expect me to serve you tea, and sometimes you don't know that maybe I'm the most senior person in the room, you know what? Sometimes I will not serve, but most times I will, because it's usually the starting of the meeting, right? Before the formal meeting starts. So I will come, I will give you the tea. Then at that time when I'm serving you, you're looking at me, especially if it's a man, you're looking at me like, oh, she's just here to serve. But immediately I'm done serving. Do you know what? I go to the end of the table and I take my position. And at that point, now I have the permission to be actually over the top both, right? So what did I do? I've made being a woman work for me. And in that sense, their defense again is low. So what I've learned from experience, going head on, especially with egos, doesn't work, doesn't help. It takes so much from us emotionally and it drains us because it's not our natural, at least for me, it's not my natural setting. I saw one of my friends, yesterday posted and said, let's do away with this strong Black woman thing that is sent. Let's also learn to be soft and to sit back and be taken care of. And what the reason I'm using that is because when egos come, I'm affected longer than the man, right? For him, he's just doing another societal thing. For me, I sit and I'm like, just the same thing you said, Maura, who do you think you are? And then it affects us even longer. So instead of sometimes going head on, I mellow it down. And that's the role of leadership as well. Because when you are a leader, who's challenging it? You're the leader. So what does it hurt that I serve you? What does it hurt that I bring down the temperatures by just asking, how is your family? Actually, genuinely, you'll have that conversation with me. And I hope that helps a bit. But also, in terms of now commanding your space, you learn to be very good at what you do. So that when people come and ask, what do you know? They can't actually ask that loudly. And by the time if anyone has the guts to ask them, they have someone else already countering to say, what do you mean? What does she know? Have you seen how much she does? Have you seen if she was not here, do you know this would not happen? Then expand your knowledge, right? Expand your knowledge so that you're competent in a lot of things. And I know we are done for time. I have overshot by at least 6 minutes.
That was really nice. I think if we have any additional questions, you can share, but it's been, Kendi, it's been a great words of wisdom from you, really, as someone on chat has mentioned. And personally, as a lady, I've really learned so much from the words that you've shared. So yeah, I think that's a message of thank you so much for being with us today. And we look forward to more, I believe. And yeah, then we can proceed better for the same.
Thank you. Kevin, you can write your message on the side. I know Kevin raised his hand. Then we'll be able to talk. Unless there was a comment.
We can let him pick it up for just a short window, just for 1 minute. Kevin, you have 1 minute in that case.
Kevin, you're there? Okay.
Okay.
So thank you for having me. I'll stay a bit and then I'll drop off. As I said, my children need to go to bed. And it would be good if I can take them.
Okay. We are also celebrating women today who have been supporting us in SheHacks. So it would be an honor for you to stick around a little bit more so you get to learn to pick something from them also.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kendi. That was very, you are very passionate. And I learned a lot from you. You said, don't allow yourself to be boxed to the technical conversations. And that's one thing that we keep talking about with my colleagues. Like eventually we'll all have to move to leadership positions and we have to prepare ourselves for that. So thank you so much, Kendi. Yes, we are very, very, very grateful. Kevin, your mic was muted, I was aware. But yes, you can maybe post the question and then we can talk about it as we go on. Maybe if you can introduce the next session.
Okay, thanks once again, Laura. So today we are celebrating among the women who were part of founding of SheHacks. And maybe I could say a little bit of background about SheHacks. It was mostly birthed in Safaricom, right, Laura?
Yes.
We got all the support needed from the ladies in Safaricom to push it up to where we are right now. So we have Jaylin, we have Fares and Fidisi in the call today. Maybe we can have you introduce yourselves and then we pick up the different panel questions for you.
Okay, we can begin with Jaylin.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Evelyn. It was such a pleasure just listening to Kendi, as in wisdom was just oozing from her. And I really liked the part where she was, I'm supposed to introduce myself first. I'm just assuming people know me. Yes, my name is Jolene Kirui. I have been, yes, I'm one of the founding members of She Hacks. We started off more than 5 years ago, and it's been just a pleasure just to see where it is right now. Yes, I was part of Safaricom until last week. And Kendi, I'll be joining you next week. So it's quite a pleasure to see you and to hear from you.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Joylene. Maybe Fidesi, maybe Fidesi can take over. I know Faris is on the road, so Fides.
Thank you, ladies. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Fidesi Nyamuhanga. I work in Safaricom Managed Security Services. Yes, it's been a journey. What you two or three people of the founders of She Hacks have done is amazing, and we're always here to support. And to the speaker who had just finished, thanks for the nice insights. We'll definitely try to change our ways of working, our ways of perception, so that we can better ourselves in this field. Thank you.
Okay, over to you, Faris, if you're with us now.
Good evening, guys. I'm so sorry. I'll turn on my camera in the next few minutes. I've just gotten home. My name is Faris Mora. I'm currently at Safaricom. I lead the cybersecurity governance, risk and controls team. Happy to be on board, and thanks for the great insights from Kendi, and looking forward to much more engagement and a fruitful session today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And as we started, Faris was the lady known as the GSM person. So she was really good in the network side, and especially hacking the GSM part of the networks. So that was a little bit of a spoiler for you, Faris, but thank you so much. So maybe a few questions to the team. We'll just take a background in terms of what has been your experience in the cybersecurity field and what are you currently focusing on. So Jaylene, you can start, and then we go to Fides and then Faris.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. I think for me, it's just so amazing to see how the journey has flowed. 5 years ago, I remember, no, actually I joined Safaricom 6 years ago. I remember I joined with Fides on the same day. I think we were the second and third ladies in the department. And as of now, I think there are more than almost 20 ladies. It's just been quite an amazing journey to watch. I remember when we started when She Hacks started, I remember it was a pen test ladies at that time. And then changed over to She Hacks. I remember we got a lot of support, especially from our HOD, Tony Gashanja at that time. And one thing that I know is really key, you need to get top approval first in order for your initiatives to go and to proceed to be great, like the way She Hacks has been. And one of the things that I've loved about Safaricom is that we've been there, they've been there from the word go, as in supporting the initiative, supporting the community, and until this time. I remember even when we were thinking of doing bug bounty, most of the guys that we were actually aiming at, it was to have more and more bug bounty hunters from Kenya. And we were looking for communities like She Hacks, especially more ladies. We targeted She Hacks, targeted Africa Hackon. So at least now we have more and more ladies doing bug bounty, doing assurance. I was in the assurance arm, and I saw more and more ladies. We were interviewing very many ladies from especially She Hacks. And I was very proud of what they were doing. Like, you guys are really come from far. Because most of our interviews were really practical. We do practical technical assessments, and you ladies actually you give your all, and I'm really proud of you, of the far that you've come. What I was doing, I started off in SOC for like 2 months. I started off on the same day with Fides, and then I moved over to assurance. So I moved over to cybersecurity assurance, where we were the ethical hackers. We were testing systems to make sure that they're secure and before they go live. And after that, at least I got to be to manage a team within the assurance team. And it's been such an honor just to see the team grow, and also the gender balance between the team. I mean, we've seen more and more ladies enroll, more and more ladies in the team, and they are amazing. I know, Evelyn, you're part of the team, and we've been seeing you guys doing a lot of great works, especially from learning from the trainings that you guys are organizing. Bringing legends from darknet.
Darknet Diaries.
Yes.
Darknet
Diaries. Yeah.
Having the first 2 Kenyans presenting in Black Hat, Evelyn and Laura. I think it's just so amazing. We came from having no ladies presenting in Africa Hackon to having 2 ladies presenting in Black Hat USA. That's just amazing. I don't know if you can just give them a round of applause. So yes, after moving to assurance, I left Safaricom last week, and I'm happy to say at least I'll be joining Microsoft as from Monday. I'll still be in cybersecurity, and I hope I'll continue engaging you ladies in the community and growing the community together. Over to you, Fides.
Thank you, Jaylene. That was quite a history that you have given on the journey. We appreciate it. I think for me, in terms of the journey, has been, I was exposed to the field of cybersecurity through people like Jaylene, Patricia, and the guys in the teams, because my background is in engineering and I love more hands-on work, building, creating. So when you go into logical things where you have to interact with codes, you have to interact with the attacks at the SOC, it was quite different for me. But the gaining the education was the first part of my journey. Then 1 year ago, I now was able to merge my education with my passion for speaking. So I moved to managed security services, where I have been. And for the future, I think the options are wide, but the most important thing is just to do what you love. So for me, it would be find something new, learn new skills all the time, merge it with passion and talent, then you get to build your own brand that is just different and unique from everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Over to you, Faris.
Okay, thanks. I hope you can see me now.
Yes.
Sorry about the delay.
It's okay.
So for me, I joined, my background is in electrical and telecommunications engineering, and I was more comfortable with the GSM side of things. Joining Safaricom, I joined as a graduate management trainee, and we did get to do a rotation across the different functions within the organization. And when I did my rotation in cybersecurity, it really piqued my interest, and I lobbied a lot to be retained in that team because it was one of the teams that I got very hands-on engagement. Much as I was new, you're given systems to play with, of course, with caution. But then that really piqued my interest, and the team was great and very supportive, and I really wanted to stay there. But at first it was very hard coming from an engineering background, and you're talking about AD and the many acronyms in the cyberspace. It was really hard to catch on. But then I was given the advice that you cannot run until you learn to crawl. So you trust the process. pick the learnings, and as long as you're making progress, as long as you're improving yourself daily, it will get a time that you'll be able to run. So now just trust the process, crawl, then start to try and stand, then walk, then run, and you can keep increasing the pace as you go. So then I settled in that department, and I joined the assurance team with Jeline, running pen tests and testing systems before they go live. Then after that, I joined the design and architecture team first, designing cybersecurity solutions for the organization, then crossed over to assurance, testing these solutions, the products and services that we deploy as an organization for any security vulnerabilities before they're being taken to market. Then recently transitioned to the governance, risk and controls role. And I must say what Kendi mentioned about the business acumen really comes through and really comes to life in my current role, because much as you're a techie, much as you're very hands-on, you need that business acumen, or you need that business view to be able to give or to influence business outcomes. So if you're running or you're implementing security controls in a system, sometimes you you need buy-in from the rest of the business. You need buy-in from the different teams that you work with. You need buy-in from your different stakeholders. So having that business acumen and being able to communicate security or your technical, the technical terms in a manner, in a language that the business understands, gives you an edge, gives you an advantage, and makes you're able to achieve your goals faster and better. Yes, I want to believe that is what we needed to talk about. Sorry, I had a small hitch, so I was going with the flow.
Yes, Faris, I believe we've had it in the correct way, I believe. So thank you again for joining Faris and PDC. So the next would be, now that we've told our story and the background that we have, what would be your thoughts on the landscape of cybersecurity in Africa, as that's the topic for this particular Hackfest? And if you had the power to change anything, what could that be?
I think I'll go first. As for the cybersecurity landscape in Africa, we've really come from far. And to say that, as in, I remember there's a point where like getting talent within Africa, like there was a scarcity of talent, and actually many of the organizations were not thinking about being cyber aware. They were not thinking about having cybersecurity resources as a priority, thinking about securing their networks or securing their infrastructure. And we've really come from far. In the last 5 years, since at least we are just trying to see where we've come from the last 5 years. Right now, if you see, we've seen very many organizations actually taking priority in terms of actually employing full-time cybersecurity engineers, taking security to the big table, and putting in a budget for cybersecurity, and putting in policies, controls. Like right now, we've really come from far. I think you can attest to that, and that's quite amazing. If there's one thing that I would change, one thing I would change is I would really want to see Africans develop these tools, Africans developing these controls, these policies. I feel sometimes it's like we are more of consuming products, consuming policies, consuming controls from other countries or other continents, instead of creating our own tools, creating our own controls. I would want us to reach that place where even Americans are using tools that are created by a Kenyan. Yeah, I've seen very many people, at least we've seen Christian developed a tool for mobile app security. We're seeing 1 or 2 people, but I would like to see like more and more people creating tools that go above and go to other, that will be used to other continents, instead of us always just consuming. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Jacqueline. Over to you, Fidesi.
Thanks, Joylene, for that. So I think for me, I would say in terms of the cybersecurity landscape in Africa, there's still a lot to be done. I think we are still at the toddler space where we're still crawling in terms of the processes that we need to define well, in terms of the technologies that we are consuming, and also the people in terms of skill. So I'd say most organizations have not been able to sync the three together to be able to just build a robust cybersecurity space. And most people are trying, because you find either organizations don't, one, have the budget. Number two, they don't understand what cybersecurity is all about. So in terms of defining the right policies, they have not defined that. Some you find they consume technology even before they understand the policies before they define the policies in place to be able to manage and operate those technology. Also, in terms of people, skill-wise, you find that you really have to do a lot of certifications around cybersecurity, and it's just a unit within most courses or a few courses in university. So you find specialization is not much, unless now you get exposed through forums like this SheHacks. That's when you find people now develop skills. So there's a lot to be done around the education system. There's a lot to be done around investing in our own skills. So getting to trust that a local person can actually offer high-end consultancy services within that field. So they don't have to be from a different country. They don't have to be from a Western country. Another thing is just to understand that the technology we are consuming, sometimes it's not the best, like there are processes and procedures like people need to develop and follow. And it's not a one shoe fits all. So that's what I say from my end, like there's still a lot of gap. And until you interact with the small and medium enterprises, then you realize they have no idea of what's happening. And most of the time they do the last minute patching, last minute purchases, fixing just to be compliant either to a policy or to a regulation. The LEs, meaning the large enterprises, have tried, because you find there's those strict regulatory and industry regulations they have to comply with. So they tend to learn fast and yet not the best way. So you find there's still a lot of money and funds not spent on the right space. So if you can be able to actually pick up and start consultancy services, get so skilled and professional in specific sections, because cybersecurity is wide, then there's still a huge gap to be filled within Africa. Thank you, Evelyn.
Okay, over to you, Faris.
Okay, I think for me, much has been said by Fides and Joylene. I look at it from different, I don't know what to call them, verticals, from a legal angle, from a technical aspect, from maybe an organizational aspect, and cooperation now between different countries. So as Fides and Joylene have rightly mentioned, we've come a long way. I think as a continent, we did not have maybe regulation or laws in place that are specific to cyber and even data protection. But recently we've seen that come to life, even in Kenya. We've seen Data Protection Act. We've seen the laws or acts in line with the cyber crime come to life. And I think that's a big step forward. And also when it comes to technical, we're still not, in my opinion, we're still not doing so well because a lot of, just like Joylene mentioned, a lot of technology that we use is not local. It's not coming from us, and I know we have the capacity to build solutions for our cyber problems. Of course, cyber is a global problem, not unique to Africa or not unique to other continents, but if we can get localized solutions for our cyber problems, and we have that capacity in the continent to do exactly that, then we can take pride in the advancements that we've made in that vertical. Then in terms of organizational, you'll find most multinationals or organizations that span many countries or have influence from other countries, maybe Europe or the Americas or Asia, have a well-established cyber function. For most other organizations, especially SMEs, or even just the local governmental organizations, you'll find the cyber function is not taken as seriously. Maybe it's a small function within the larger IT function. So again, that limits the kind of influence that we can have on the business, on the budget that goes into cyber. So again, that keeps changing, and I want to believe it's getting better. And as we get, again, just going back to Kendi's point, as we get into those conversations in the boardrooms and with the business people, we should be able to influence them more to make more investment in cyber, not only on the tools, but even as a function, as a strategic function within an organization, and invest in the tools and building controls within an organization to prevent us from, or to help us cope when we encounter cyber incidents. Then lastly, we have collaboration between different organizations. So you'll have maybe African countries coming together to have, cyber treaties, or when we come up with these laws and regulations, we collaborate with other countries, get into those agreements so that we can further advance ourselves. And when we have laws and regulations within our country, how does it span, or how does it influence the regulations and laws within other countries in the cyberspace? And lastly, I said that was the last, but I'd forgotten one, is on capacity development, which is the training. For most trainings, I've seen more universities come up with specific courses on cyber. But initially, even for most of us, I think joining the industry, you're doing a different course, not specific to cyber. And cyber is probably just a unit within your course, but we've seen more universities and colleges come up with programs that are fine-tuned for cyber and skilling you to specifically for this function or for this industry. So I think that's a big improvement in cyberspace or in the cyber landscape in Africa. And looking forward, I also shared the dream with Jolene to see more and more Africans develop solutions, these tools that we use to do our day-to-day jobs. If we can have an African name to it, a Kenyan name to it, I think it would make us more proud. So I know most of our audience, we have students, we have people who are just starting out in their cybersecurity career. So I think this is a challenge to us. Let's not consume or rely so much on the tools that we use, but also look at them to solve the problems that we face and come up with customized solutions that can scale globally. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Laura, you can pick it up. You had a question to ask.
Thank you so much, ladies. Those are very good insights. Faris, you mentioned students, and over the past 5 years, we can brag that we started clubs in about 30 colleges now. Nancy is our head of college outreach, and we have so many students who are interested in cybersecurity. So from your perspective, you do know that in Kenya, there are not so many schools offering cybersecurity as courses. We currently have 2 that I can mention, maybe Strath and USIU, and they're both private. So not many people are able to access that. So what would you advise students who are maybe not in not pursuing technical courses, but they would want to get into cybersecurity. Also, shout out to my sister for joining the call. Thanks for the support. Yeah, so what can you advise students?
Okay. First of all, I think looking back when I was a student, I now realize I had a lot of time compared to now, because now sometimes you want to take up a course or you want to take up a certification, but because of your workload and juggling between, managing a home and working, it gets a bit tricky to get down to, upskill outside of your day-to-day. So as a student, looking back, I would have used a lot of my time just to upskill on the things I'm passionate about. So like for those who are in, maybe you're not taking cybersecurity as your major, if I may put it so, there are many materials on the internet. There are YouTube videos, we have podcasts, we have materials on certification, the e-learning platforms like Edureka, Udemy, they have what is it called? Sorry, Cybery, Cybery.it has very good content and it ranges from beginner level to intermediate to advanced level. So even without a technical background, of course, having a technical background makes it a bit easier to comprehend the topics and the subject, but even without a technical background, one can still get into the cyberspace. I've seen people who come from banking backgrounds, especially guys on the bug bounty programs. They come even from, banking or a totally different background that is not technical, and they do so well in the program. And that goes to show that you really don't have to have a technical background to be successful in a cyber career. But then to answer your question, Laura, yeah, we have a lot of materials out there, and you can just get started. And I know the materials can be vast, so it's good to also have a mentor, someone to guide you on the path to tech, because you could specialize in different areas, forensics, maybe SOC operations, maybe ethical hacking or network security, application security. So it can be overwhelming when you're starting out, but once you are able to get someone to guide you on the path to tech and curate materials for you to guide you in upskilling that path, then you should be good to go. Then societies or communities like She Hacks, Africa Hackon, even Safaricom Women in Tech, and many other programs I've seen out there, they also help in this regard. Because we have programs for high school students, for college students, and the professionals within these organizations also offer themselves to guide students on different career paths, including cyber. So I would advise the students in here to take advantage of these forums, to take advantage of individuals in these groups to assist them chart their career path.
Okay, thanks, Faris. We can proceed on to Fidis and then Jaylin.
Yeah, thank you, Faris. I think when you really have like ladies who have experience, who have a lot of wisdom, they kind of cover most of the things that the next person is supposed to say. But just to add on, I'd say that for me, I think as being a student, you may just want to, one, understand what you're really good at. You may want to really learn a lot, meaning go out there, go for these seminars, go for the webinars, understand the new technologies that are in place, understand the courses that are marketable, so that if you need to do these certifications, you do them while you're still in university. Also, in terms of getting internships, earlier on, even when you're in first year, second year, get these side hustle jobs where you're paid 5K, 10K, 15, so that you start learning in terms of even how do I negotiate for my salary when I'm done with university and I'm getting that job, you know. You may also want to even look at the people who are within your circle, like how are we growing together? So if you have people who are within, for example, engineering, what friends do you have around engineering whom you challenge each other, what courses to do, what companies you want to work for? Do they have networks? Can I tap into their networks? Can they tap into my own networks? So you also learn things around savings, even when you're still in university. How then do you start saving your money, managing your finances? Because you find you get employed, you have never touched a five-figure salary or money, actually 6 figures salary, and you don't know even how to use it or even how to budget for it. Okay, you need also to start, and if I was still a student, I'm to go back, I'd want to understand, how do I manage the black tax? You know, you have cousins, you have aunties, you have friends. How do you support them with the little money you have, but also you don't get yourself into debts, or also you don't find yourself not saving enough for yourself? So I think those are the things I would really want. If I would advise a younger student, I would tell them to do, but importantly, just try get employment before you are even of age, like they used to say, Kitapo. Once you're done with Form 4, identify a field and volunteer in those fields. Get a job, start earning that little money so that you also understand how does the corporate world work, whether it's public sector, private sector. How do I create networks? How do I negotiate for salaries? How do I start building a profile? So you find someone who's a mentor. For example, if you're interested in Paris, get to understand her profile. What has she studied? How has she risen through the ranks? So that you also start preparing yourself. Yeah, that's all from me, Evelyn.
I think I'm next. I totally agree with Fides and Faris. One thing that I really liked that I did back in campus, I was in USIU, and as Laura said, at least we were among the fortunate ones where they were teaching cybersecurity. And for me, I was more into software development when I was in USIU. So and some bit of cybersecurity. So one thing that really helped me at that time was, you know, when you learn something, at least you should be curious enough as in to teach it. They usually say the best way to master something is to teach it. So what we used to do, we created this IT club, and then every Friday we were the ones who were training the fellow students on Python development, on cybersecurity, on web development. So during having those sessions on Fridays, like from 9 a.m. to around lunchtime, really helped us because we had to really master our skills, or at least we teach the other students. And going that extra mile really helps in terms of mastering your craft and learning through teaching others, which is quite important. And being part of a community. As Laura said, they have students communities within, I think, 30 universities, isn't it, Laura? Okay. Yes, so within in more than 30 campuses in Kenya. So yes. Make sure you're part of those communities. One thing that I really learned is that you should be part of a community, not just a passive a member. You should be very active, because actually most of these companies, when they're trying to recruit, they will share these job postings with the communities, and then they'll say maybe you can share a couple of names which we can who can apply. So be part of those communities, be active and train other students. As in, we don't know everything, that's for sure. I will not say that I know everything. Anyone who says that they know everything is lying to themselves. So every day we should have a growth mindset. And it's very important to just share whatever knowledge that you gain with others. You can share it through having sessions, through blogging. Open a blog, write something, what you've learned today, like this week, what I've learned, and share it with your friends, share it with your community. One thing also that we did when we were in USIU IT club, we also organized for campus, for company visits. So if you're curious to know how maybe Safaricom, how their network actually works, you can organize for visits, for on-site visit, just to see how 4G site is actually integrated, how everything is working, how CBS is working, how what happens in the background when you're making a phone call. You should be curious enough as in to know how these technologies are actually implemented. Yeah, I think that's all on my side. But I will be keen to just repeat what Faris said. There's so many free resources online which are available. I think even if you tried to study all of it, you will reach 100 years and hautakuwa umemaliza. So, but just try to make some time, at least 1 hour a day, to focus on your passion. Just try and to understand yourself. What am I trying to achieve? And what should I do to get to that goal, to get to where I want to be? If you want to be a CISO in 10 years' time, so maybe you just see what profiles of CISOs, what they've done to get there, as in what I need to do to get to that particular position. And you break it down into bits and see, as in what can I do within this year to make me reach that particular goal. And funny enough, you'll just see that with the time, as in you'll reach there, as long as it's actionable. I think that's all on my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaylene. That was quite insightful. And maybe for the different people in the group, you can do blogging, which I think among the key things I picked is in that way you just pick up what the learnings that you've done, and then you just convert it to some writable article that someone else will learn from. So you can do that and you can be paid for that. So if you're willing to contribute, especially to SheHacks, let me know, or myself, Laura, and Nancy also. So you can just push a message to either of the three of us, so we can support you on that. Thank you so much, Jaylene, Faris, and Fides. And I think I forgot to mention something. I've really, my career has shaped up to where it is right now because of the support I've received from Jaylene, Faris, and Fides, and a little bit more. At least I was bugging Faris more, and she's been among the supportive ladies in this particular the team that we have in Safaricom. And yeah, thanks, Jaylene, for the support accorded. And maybe one last question, at least you've answered one adequately for the students part wanting to join cybersecurity industry. So the last question I have for you is, we've talked a lot about certifications, about being good at your craft, and what Farah said earlier is learn how to crawl fast before picking up to expedite to what you do. So there's this feel of imposter syndrome in this particular career field, since it's a male-dominated industry. How have you navigated to where you are right now? So we can start with you, Jaylene, don't worry.
I don't know if that feeling of imposter syndrome ever goes away, but and I don't feel like it should go away in a way, because once you have that, if you feel some bit of fear, it means that you're sort of facing you're facing something that's big, bigger than you. And at least what I usually do when I have to face some of these things, which I feel like there's a bit of imposter syndrome, is I do a lot of preparation in advance. I can even do like a side pitch of some sort, just to make sure that I'm eloquent enough to project myself, and to make sure that whatever I want to pass across is done appropriately, and just to be very prepared. And also, as in, you can never please everyone, that's for sure. So one thing that I have really learned, as in, just do you. Don't compare yourself with others. Just compare yourself with your previous self, as in, just try to be a better version of yourself. So if last week you were maybe stammering kidogo, and then you say that I want to do this better, and then maybe this week it's just one stammer, as in, you're getting better. If last week, if last year you did 10 blogs, and then this year you said, but then this year, next year I want to do like 20, and then this year you do 20. It's more of self-growth. We have to do, like I said, break it into bits and just make sure that there's progress, that there's tangible progress whenever you're growing. But yes, for imposter syndrome, just do your best. As in, once you break from that norm of thinking what other people think, you have finally broken through. As in, you're free. That's what I say. Thank you.
Thanks, Jaylene. That was really insightful. And I think we need to acknowledge that imposter syndrome, for some of us, will never get away, but let's learn how to manage it better. So over to you, Fares, and then Fides.
Thanks. I think we share the same sentiments. Imposter syndrome never goes away somehow. When it goes away, then it means it's time for you to stretch yourself further, get into another role or a bigger role that would also have you feeling like you're an imposter. Because that feeling, I think it helps you to grow. If you handle it well, it helps you to grow, because what it means, it feels like you're in a role, you've been given or someone has trusted you with a role or a task, and you feel like you're not adequate enough to handle the task or to do it to what you perceive as the expectations of the role. So for me, what that does, it makes me do a lot of assignment, a lot of research, a lot of upskilling, so that I can get to that comfortable level, or I can gain that confidence that I'm able to run with the task, I'm able to give value or do justice to the role. So for me, of course, when it comes out so strong, it's not it's not a good thing. You don't feel like it's a good thing, but at the end of the day, it really helps you stretch yourself and helps you grow. And I came to realize that it's not only ladies who experience it. When I realized it's commonplace and it's everyone who experiences it, then I felt a lot more comfortable, because, well, it was not just me. Even men do experience imposter syndrome, but I think it's more rampant in ladies, because most of the time, remember, we always want to check all the boxes before you can have that confidence to go forth and do something. But for most men, I think as long as they meet one or two of the requirements, they feel confident enough to run with it. Another thing that has helped me, I think it's Sheryl Sandberg's book. It's called Lean In. I read it a couple of years ago. I think it gave me a lot of confidence. It is not stupid to ask. There's no stupid question. So whenever something is not clear, if the role is not clear, if there's something I do not know that I need to know within the role or for me to execute my task, I've learned not to be afraid to ask. I might look stupid, but I'll only look stupid once. And sometimes when you ask a question, you realize you've asked it for so many people who are afraid to maybe raise their hands or maybe call out something. So take the especially when you're new to a role, it's more understandable when you don't know a lot of things. So take advantage of it and ask a lot of questions, seek a lot of help from the people around you and even outside of your space, and use the shortest time possible to come to that confident level, because I think imposter syndrome pushes you to do exactly that. Then also, don't be afraid. Yeah, exactly. Just don't be afraid to ask questions. It helps to be very self-aware, because when you're self-aware, you know where you tick, where you don't. You know your strengths, your weaknesses. You know the skills and the value that you bring to the table, and also just confident. It helps to be confident in your abilities, and when you're self-aware, you know where you lack. So you are confident to seek out help for the areas that you lack. So I think that would be my approach in handling imposter syndrome.
Thanks, Paris. That was quite insightful. So we can have Fide, and then maybe we say the final words here.
Yeah, so thank you, Faris. And I think the goodness of coming in last is you just get to summarize what the rest have said. And I think what they all iterate is, number one, you really need to understand yourself. We have different journeys from the moment we are being born to even where we want to become. So it's important you understand, like, who are you as a person? Who are you as Evelyn? Who are you as Paris, Joylene? Who are you? Can you actually write an autobiography of yourself, like who you are? Number two is understand your skill level in terms of at what level are you right now, and what do you need to do to become an SME, a subject matter expert in a field that you're actually eyeing, which could be different for different people in the same space, you know. And then you may also want to check your self-esteem, and that speaks to your confidence. How confident are you when you're speaking? How confident are you when you're walking? How confident are you when you're even talking to people and giving some of the opinions you have? Because it translates even to when you're doing your interviews, how confident are you? And self-esteem speaks to matters of now, things like gender bias, inequalities. How then do you stop being how do you differentiate issues from non-issues? How do you then assume some of the how do you then not create issues where there is none? Building a hill where there is actually just an anthill. And that speaks to self-esteem, so that this issue of men, women is not that explosive, you know, on your face when small things are said or done within your space. And finally, it also goes to you asking. You can ask for things and say what you actually want. So speak up if you don't know something, speak up if you know something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jillian, Fares, and Fides. It's been quite insightful to hear the experience from the different ladies we have in this industry, and thanks for being phenomenal to supporting other ladies also in the growth with growth in this particular industry. So I think that marks an end, because I believe we had answered the question on the growth in terms of your younger self. But thank you so much for this for this insightful session. Laura, are you still with us? Or Nancy, you can add something to what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
Yes, I am. Do I do my part and then you do yours? I can start?
Yeah, you can.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much to the ladies who joined us today, Fidesi, Faris, Joylene. Wow, we started this thing 5 years ago, and you were there, you supported us through the journey. I remember the first meetup we had in November 2016 was at Safaricom, and you were very supportive, and you have been very supportive. So it's such an honor to have you here with us today to celebrate our 5th with us. Wow, it's surreal. I can't even believe like we've grown this much this past 5 years. And I just want to appreciate you for it. Joylene, all the best when you start at Microsoft on Monday. We look forward to you sharing your experiences with the community. And Faris and Fidesi, just keep doing the great job you've been doing. We are so proud of you, and we're happy to be associated with you. So before I do my closing, I would just want to announce our winners for the Ctfs. We launched the Ctf last week, Thursday, and I told them to make it as hard as possible, but not so hard. Again, we did not have any women participating in the top 3 this year, but we're hoping that slowly we are going to help. We are going to change that. So you can see we have the winners, the top 3, No Pawn, No Gain, Cabarrus, and the Freaks. Congratulations. We are going to talk to you guys on the side and talk about the prizes we'll be giving to you. So yes, thank you everyone for joining. We've had 4 sessions of Hackfest this month, every Thursday. Wait, before I finish, for the CTF, Nancy, we are going to have a walkthrough with the campus team. So campus edition on any Tuesday of your choosing, we're going to have a walkthrough with the Aspire team. Yes, so thank you to all the speakers for this year's Hackfest. Thank you to all our partners, Microsoft, Opcode, ICRAL, Shend Micro, Africa Hackon. I hope I haven't forgotten any. Safaricom. Yes, I don't have it.
You had all the ladies here, Laura from Safaricom, and how do you forget?
Sorry. Yeah, so thank you to Safaricom, Microsoft, and all our partners for this year. Thank you for the support, and thank you again to all the participants, everyone who spoke, everyone who attended, and yes, Claire, happy birthday to SheHacks, happy 5th to all of us, and I hope we will keep growing. So yeah, thank you all very much, Eve.
Okay, it's just a thank you so much. It's been surreal today. We've learned a lot from women, and yeah, it's just a final time to say goodbye to everyone and have a good night.
Good night,
I think,
everyone.
Laura, this is the one we've ended too early.
Yeah, it's because we only had 2 sessions. The others we had 3. We wanted to make it short because we wanted to celebrate with the founding members, and to all the other founding members who wasn't able to make it today. Thank you for your support, and thanks, Kendi, in case Kendi is still on. Thank you for your keynote.
Yeah. So maybe a message to the team. Patricia sent her regards and said next time she'll plan herself to be part of us next time.
Yeah. All right. Good night,
thank you so
everyone.
much.
We resume normal sessions next week. So see you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.